everyone. This is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the She and Success podcast, powered by She and Success Business Magazine, a platform dedicated to spotlighting the voices, strategies, and journeys of women leaders and entrepreneurs who are shaping Canada's business and policy landscape. Today, we are tackling one of the most critical conversations in the tech world: the role of women in shaping our AI driven future. In 2026, technology is no longer just a technical field. It is the foundation of our society. And if women aren't the architects table, we risk building a future that doesn't reflect the full spectrum of humanity. Joining us today is Jen Torah, AI team lead at Vooban, an electrical engineer by training with a background in optics and machine learning. Jen has become a pioneering force in applied AI. As a finalist for the Women in AI North America Awards and the Women in Tech North America Awards, she is not just leading AI projects, she is actively redefining what it means to be a leader in a male dominated industry. So, before further ado, let's welcome this special guest. Jen, such a pleasure to have you here with us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me today.
Now, Jen, I'm so excited for this conversation because women in AI is, not talked about enough. And I'm so glad we're having this discussion today. Um, your career path has been very fascinating, right? Moving from electrical engineering and optics into the complex world of AI and machine learning. So let's start by understanding a little background story, where it all started from. And from the extensive experience that you have, Jen, what was the biggest barrier faced when moving from engineering to AI leadership? Go ahead.
I feel like engineers were trained to have the exact answer. We do all those math classes during our
Uh-huh.
studies to really have that answer. And then obviously, when we work as engineers, we build things based on those math equations and very specific answers. But
Yeah.
AI is different, right? We're used to be using computers traditionally have exact answers because computers are 0 or 1. It's
Yeah.
correct or incorrect. But
Right. There's no
AI,
gray area in between. Yeah.
exactly, it's deterministic, whereas AI is probabilistic. And that's where I think people are having trouble to really understand what are the limits of
Mhm.
AI? Where is it good used for? And that's exactly what you need to understand. You really need to understand the core concepts of AI to really use it properly. Because I see so many people using AI and they're not understanding that that's not how you should use it, right? Or they're
Yeah.
very disappointed once you implement it because you didn't really do your research on how AI has limits. It's not
Yeah.
perfect. It's not a magic powder that does everything,
Of
right?
course.
So I think moving from an engineering mindset where it's logical, where,
Mm.
when you have a problem, you debug it, you debug the logic. But
Yeah.
in AI, it's different. You have to really understand that there's data coming in and you have to understand your data analysis. It's no longer about debugging and logic. And then with data comes ethics and security and legal and
Mhm.
all these considerations that you have to have in the AI leadership.
Yeah. So was the experience for you a little overwhelming as well, or was it just like a breeze and you walked into it?
Well, I think it also happened a little bit by accident. I mean, when I went
Uh-huh.
into engineering, machine learning was still a very specific field that was not mainstream yet.
Yeah.
So I did my studies, like you said, in electrical engineering and
Mhm.
optics, and a lot of it was about sensing. So my
Mm.
background is about sensing, captors, and so on. And I, because you needed the data, that's where I came in the machine learning field, where they needed a specialist to create the data. So I come from a data creation background.
Mhm.
And then slowly, and then that data was used for machine learning. I really tipped my hat towards machine learning. Obviously, with my signal processing background, all the
Yeah.
algorithms, that was a lot of fun. But as I grew more into my leadership role in AI, I took more on project
Uh-huh.
management and team management in AI.
Wow, that's very interesting because that's a very interesting overlap of the skills that you transfer in each of these industries. Now, moving ahead, Jen, let's explore that why women embracing AI is essential for closing this tech gap and advancing careers. So, from your perspective, Jen, why should women step into AI leadership instead of only using AI systems? What's your take?
So even using AI, we're seeing time and time again in studies that women are not jumping on the AI train. They're lagging behind in the adoption itself, right? So
Mhm.
if we're not adopting it, we're not even in the leadership roles, right? And it's so important to really embrace AI as women because a
Mhm.
couple of things, right? First of all, we don't want to be left behind. AI is
Yes.
already changing how things are being done today, so
Mhm.
we don't want to pass by those opportunities. That's one thing. But the
Mhm.
other thing is if you're not using AI, you're not in the data, right?
Yeah.
And that's critical because if you're not in the data, we have examples, right? For example, the AI system that's filter out candidates. We've seen big companies faced with the biases that only men's resumes would go through.
Yeah.
Facial recognitions. Often women are not as well recognized in facial recognition. And that's one thing for products that you want to be unlocking and so on. But also, what about privacy? Facial recognition is used for anonymization, and our
Yeah.
anonymity is as important as our counterpart, right?
Of course.
So again, we need women to really not see AI as a risk
Yeah.
and take that risk and not see it as a threat and then really embrace it and adopt it. And then the leadership is also important to be a part of it. So are conscious whenever we build those AI and remove those
Mhm.
biases.
Well, that's very well explained. And also, women represent 50% of the workforce at least, right? Then, if they are not using AI, then the workforce's efficiency in total is also getting to such lower extent and it's not at its maximum utilization. So, women in tech is as important as, I personally feel that this conversation should not be about men in tech and women in tech. It should just be about businesses in tech. But this just shows the need of this conversation more and more because we need more representation from women, and owning the architecture of AI is the only way to ensure that the tools of tomorrow are built for everyone. That's a great point, Jen. Thank you so much for highlighting that. Next, let's discuss how, allyship and inclusive culture help build stronger tech teams. Um, for leaders specifically, it is very important for them to sort of maintain this atmosphere wherein everyone is learning and growing, right? So, how can leaders build that truly inclusive teams where women feel safe to innovate and grow?
Well, first you have to really give the opportunity for everybody to learn, right?
Hmm.
And that includes women and then you have to make time explicit time for learning, not just privately, publicly, and then for everybody to share their wins and their fails, right? So you have to make it okay to show prototypes that are not perfect, that are a
Right.
work in progress. And then sharing it can be internally within your teams or your Slack, sharing what succeeded, but what failed as well. So others can also look at you and try things that you're trying. Hey, maybe you failed this, but I tried this and it worked, and really have
Yeah.
that cooperative and collaborative background
Approach.
and
Yeah.
approach and culture.
I think before we go any forward, here's a special message for all of our listeners, especially to all the tech leaders watching. In 2026, inclusion is not just an HR term anymore, right? It's not just an HR initiative. It is a performance metric. If your AI team is homogeneous, your products are biased by default. It is not enough to just hire women. You have to create a psychological environment where they can challenge the status quo without any fear. Stop waiting for the pipeline to fix itself and start building the culture that retains the talent that you have. The future of innovation is diverse or it is obsolete. So always remember that. Coming back to you, Jen, I completely agree. Creating psychological safety is the bedrock upon which all high performing inclusive teams are built. So thank you so much for that. Now let's look at why, you know, encouraging the young leaders, the young girls to explore STEM and AI is critical for our future. How can the narrative change so girls see STEM as creative rather than intimidating? Because a lot of the girls, they just run in the opposite direction when they read this word STEM. Because um, you tell me why that is, and how can we escape this?
I feel like they don't get to see all the hands-on part of STEM, right? The creative
Hmm.
part, the building part. I've been involved in lots of STEM outreach programs, one being Les Filles et les Sciences, which is Girls in Science.
Hmm.
And we did hands-on activity where they had to soldier some little electronic boards. And I remember we were sitting in the workshop, and all the girls are focused on their electronic parts, tiny components. And one of the girls said, "Hey, my brother studies electronics, and I never knew how fun it was." Right? So it's about giving them the opportunity to put their hands on it. I'm also very involved in Le Code des Filles, Girls Code, where we do outreach programs within schools. So we go in schools and talk about AI and other subjects, but we also have an event where we invite inspiring women from the STEM field, and they
Wow.
get to have one-on-one conversation with these girls, showing them what they do, where they came from. Hey, your background looks like mine, right?
Of
So
course,
the
that
girls
build
can
that relatability. Yeah.
exactly. So the girls can relate to them and be and see themselves in the future as well.
Wow, that is a great initiative. Showing young girls that tech is a creative tool rather than just a complex puzzle is the most effective way to inspire them one on one. So, thank you so much for doing that. Finally, now let's examine the defining leadership moments that shaped your journey in AI. Jen, you've had such an extensive experience, different fields, so many things that you learn from here and there. So, if I were to ask you if there is any particular career moment that, shaped your leadership skill, what would you say and why?
So I had great mentors. I had great bosses that really helped me grow in my career, right? They gave me the opportunities, but also spent sponsors. So sponsors that were not necessarily my direct bosses, that really that could see the potential in me when
Yeah.
I was just trying to do my job as best as I could. And then they gave me tips on how to improve. Like they attended some of my conferences. They told me what to improve when I'm on stage. They gave me tips, but they also said my names in rooms where I was not in. You know, giving me the opportunities and opening doors for me as well. So I think really having those sponsors were great that gave me the opportunity to grow and go outside, go to conferences, write articles and so on.
Wow, I feel sponsors come as angels in one's lives
Exactly.
because they genuinely push your name in the rooms where no one would have even thought about your existence, right? And that can be a changing moment in anyone's career. So that was a very candid and a very true answer. Thank you so much for that, Jen. Defining moments in our careers are what teach us the resilience needed to lead through technological uncertainty as well. I'm loving this conversation, and definitely I'd love for you to be back. But before we let you go, if there's one final piece of advice that you have for, women in business specifically a woman considering a career in AI, but still feeling that bottleneck or hesitant, what would you tell them and why?
Just go. Just like I said, we have to try it. We have to be in it. So just go embrace it. Um, don't be scared that you might fail in public or you no, just go at it. It's often not about the most talented people that will succeed. It's about the people that are the most curious and really gets their hands on quick on AI and trying it. And it's a field that's changing so much. And it's okay. Sometimes we feel like it's going past way too quickly, but just jump on it and try different tools, try its limits, try to break it as well, right? Because you really have to understand where the limits are, where it's thriving, and you'll see that there's a lot of things that are going to change in the way you work.
That is indeed a great reminder that your perspective is a unique asset that the industry is currently missing. So, as you said, just go for it and give your all in. That was Jen, you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
All right, that was Jen Torah from Vooban, a masterclass in how to lead with technical excellence while championing a more inclusive and human centric future for AI. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the She and Success podcast, powered by She and Success Business Magazine. Be sure to subscribe for more expert insights and visit sheandsuccess.ca for more resources. And lastly, a very special thank you to our exclusive shipping partner, Purolator, for their ongoing commitment to supporting women entrepreneurs and helping them build, grow, and lead successful businesses across Canada. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.